Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to be doing another video on how good a part actually is. And I don't know if it'll become a series or not, probably not, but we will see. We'll be talking about Bullet today. It's become quite a, it's got a decent amount of hype around it, and that's partially my fault, but that's just because of conceptually how powerful of a part it can be. But basically, how Bullet works, at least in Classic, in Standard it's not very good, is because the driver is 33 millimeters tall, when making it the tallest driver in the game, taller than even Dimension-S and Hybrid. So that means that during a battle, the Bullet combo has a chance of making layer-to-disc contact with an opponent, meaning that they're more likely to burst against your disc, which can't be moved backwards like the layer can, and your layer also avoids being hit, reducing your chances of bursting as well. Bullet's also pretty heavy. It's one of the heaviest drivers in the game too. It started becoming popular when Yami first used it with Deathscythe and Vertical. He's since switched to Armed, and this here, Deathscythe Armed Bullet is currently the most popular Bullet setup. But I did some preliminary testing. You can see the balanced stars here from that. Bullet is a part that really relies on the combo's overall balance, especially with this Bullet itself. It needs to be balanced with the rest of the combo to actually work well. But the combo I started coming up with was I think is currently best for it right now is Wolborg Bumper Bullet, and this is going to be the combo I'm going to be using to test it with. The reason I chose Wolborg is because, as you can see, it's kind of got like a raised profile. It sits a little bit above the disc. You can see some of the disc tabs as opposed to Deathscythe or most other just normal Burst series layers, where the disc tabs aren't really visible and it sits lower on the combo. So this is the case for all of the Plastic Gem remakes in Burst. And some other contenders for this would be Drigger S, Drigger F, and maybe Dronzer F too. But I don't have Drigger F, and Drigger S was a bit too badly balanced and a bit too recoily to really consider using. So Wolborg it is, and then Bumper is, I tried a bunch of discs, and this was the best one that was like, had good stamina and also was aggressive enough to make the opponent burst. Down was another solid choice I was thinking of, but I liked Bumper better overall. Force and Triple were too compact to really make consistent contact with the opponent. Magnum it would kind of hit things, but it was plastic, so it didn't hit quite as hard as any of the other metal discs did. Most of those are either just too round and non-aggressive to really do any damage to opponents. So Bumper's kind of an obscure disc, but it's what I went with. And so this is the combo I'm going to be testing against the three main things that I think could be able to beat Bullet, and another kind of spicy combo that I cooked up a few days ago with Dimension-S. So time to test this thing out. So up first, I'm going to try it against Acid Anubis Knuckle Revolve. I didn't expect this thing to beat Bullet, but I want to see how good Bullet actually is at doing what it's supposed to do. Wow, alright. 3-0. Nasty KO. Double burst. Looks like even if the bullet deploys, Wolborg is still able to get the burst on stationary revolve combos some of the time. So one of the things I think is a supposed counter to bullet is a particularly burst resistant layer like this Yggdraon Y2 here on orbit, because that will be able to avoid contact with the disc and outspin it by destabilizing it. Maybe not. That's 1-0 to Wolborg. What actually worked the way it was supposed to? Okay, that's, I think, 3-1 or 4-1. That is Wolborg again by a little. That's either 4-1 or 5-1. I've lost count of how many rounds I did, but that's gonna be it for this matchup in this video. Alright, so next I'm gonna test to see if Dragoon F Polish Absorb can defeat Bullet. That looked like a tie to me. That looked like Wolborg, wow. That was Dragoon. Dragoon again. say alright, this is the first roll. Dragoon again. It appears the trick is to launch it a little harder, so you can like stall a bit or at least go on the outside and actually hit Wilborg's layer because you're like slightly above him from the slope of the stadium, but it is risky because it makes Dragoon more likely to burst as well. And my final supposed bullet counter is Deathscythe or Spread Iron, or just a Tornado Staller in general that will be able to avoid bullet and outspin it similarly to how Orbit should have been able to do it. Zero. Zero. It's a burst for bullet. Alright, and that's a 4-1 win for Deathscythe. Keep in mind that that other burst might not have happened if this was a mint one, because I wouldn't use a mint one for testing. I only save it for tournaments, so this one's pretty worn. So that might have been a 5-0 with a mint Deathscythe. Okay, I'm actually going to test it against just a KO attacker as well, Excalibur Heavy Quick Dash, just to see how just straight up KO attack fares against bullet. Actually, outspin for Excalibur. Outspin for bullet, 1-1. That's a burst for Wilborg. 2-1. The KO for bullet looks like Excalibur just ate the recoil from that disc bait. And another outspin. Bullet takes it 4-1, meaning it's a pretty good defense type as well, from what it seems. So last but not least, we're going to be testing it against kind of the spicy combo that I just thought of a few days ago and haven't really tested it at all. But it's Valtyrek Armed Dimension -S, which is a mighty 31 millimeters tall. So only 2 less than bullet and 1 less than hybrid, as opposed to the average driver, which I think is 25. So this is one of the things that can compete with it height-wise, and with the armed disc, I was hoping it could increase the burst resistance of this, as well as serve as like a bullet substitute plus bullet counter. So we'll see how it goes. is a burst priority 1-0 to Wolborg. Double burst. Double burst. Dimension dash S stalls it out. Maybe I've been approaching this wrong the whole time. That's wild. Wow, 1-1. Okay, that's 1 for Wolborg, 2-2 now. Yeah, wow. So this did end up kind of countering it, just in a completely unexpected way. Okay, so I'm done with all of the testing for now. I only did 5 rounds on screen, but I did the other 20 for all the 6 matchups I did off screen between that then and this video. So I'm going to just review all of that now. Just as a refresher, the combo I used for all of these is Wolborg, Bumper, Bullet. And up first, I tested Acid Anubis Knuckle Revolve. It won 70% of the time, mostly through bursts, which means that it's good against like Stationary Revolve, Stationary Eternal. Especially Eternal, I think, because that would be even shorter than Revolve and hit the disc more. Against Y2 Gravity Orbit, it was a 50-50 split. It usually came down to whoever was launched second would get the outspin. Maybe if I used a layer with higher stamina than Y2, it would be a better matchup in Orbit's favor, but I was too focused on making the layer not burst, which is why I selected Y2. It's basically the Hasbro Neptune. So maybe if I used something like, I don't know, what has higher stamina, and also decent burst resistance, maybe Odin would be a good matchup for this. For Deathscythe Spread Iron, the Staller beat it 80% of the time, and like I said, it was a worn Deathscythe. I could easily see this being like an unwinnable for Wolborg if it was a mint Deathscythe, just because the 4 times it did win were by burst. So it's cool that it does have a hard counter in the form of a Tornado Staller in general. Against Excalibur Heavy Quick Dash, it won 65% of the time, mostly through outspin. And strangely enough, Excalibur also won mostly through outspin. Just because it wasn't really able to inflict any KOs or bursts, just because it was mainly hitting the disc. However, if it was able to get some early hits on Wolborg and destabilize it, it was able to outspin it. Not really consistently though, but it could happen. Maybe an attack layer with better stamina, like V2 or Z2 could probably outspin it just straight up, but Excalibur didn't. It seems to be like fairly good at just resisting the offensive methods of winning, which is KOing and bursting. Against Dragoon F Polish Absorb, it won a few rounds by burst and outspin early on, but once I figured out how to launch Dragoon against it, that turned much more in Dragoon's favor. Dragoon won 60% of the time, all through outspin, and most of Wolborg's wins were through bursts, which happened when it hit the disc. This effect was lessened a bit by Dragoon being left spin, but it was still possible to burst it just by launching Wolborg hard enough that the disc would cause Dragoon to burst. And then last but not least, the weird counter I came up with, which was Valtyrek Armed Dimension -S. When I just tried sliding shooting it, it would lose by outspin and burst, but once I randomly discovered that you could stall out Wolborg on Bullet with that, It also turned much more in Dimension Dash's favor, which also won 65% of the time, mostly through outspins. Woolborg also got a few outspins as well, so it's not like a total one-sided victory, but it seems like the hard counter to Bullet is Stallers, which makes sense because Bullet, the way Bullet wins is by touching things with the disc, so if you can avoid just touching Bullet in general, you can probably defeat it that way, which is, I guess, what I came up with when I developed the Orbit, Iron, and Dragoon combos as a way of avoiding contact with it and reducing your chances of bursting. So overall, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you read the whole testing thread about this, because it might not have as much deep visuals, but it goes more in depth as to like the different matchups and stuff, all the different wins. And yeah, I think Bullet is a good part. I don't think it needs to be banned though. It's definitely balanced. It has its counters that aren't like super niche. It has its place in the meta, but it's definitely a part worth using, I think. So yeah, I don't know what the next part of this is going to be. I don't think it's going to be a series, like I said. So that's it. Woolborg out.